Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are located. Welcome to our today's webinar on maritime cybersecurity. I think a topic that has never been more critical to our industry's future than now. I'm Nils Wegner, a commercial product manager. With me, I have the privilege to have my dear colleagues and cyber experts, Panagiotis Anastasio and Meftun Göktepe. Today we will explore what's on the horizon for maritime cyber. So critical challenges facing our industry, from GPS jamming, targeting communication systems to sophisticated AI-powered ransomware attacks. They are affecting global maritime operation. These aren't distant threats. They are happening now, affecting vessels, disrupting operations, and challenging maritime safety and security. So over the next hour, we will take you through a threat intelligence update, understanding major challenges in the maritime environment. We give you a short regulatory update and compliance pathway. And of course, we will talk about our comprehensive cyber service suite, how BV can support you on that journey. We will also give some real-world case studies so that we can learn from actual implementation across maritime industry. And then we will give a short way forward. So today's session is interactive, so please feel free to submit your questions through the Q&A section. We will address them during our Q&A session at the end. Just to inform you, the presentation will be shared in the handout section at the end of the meeting, so then you are able to get a copy. So let's start with Panagiotis, our crucial conversation about securing the future of maritime operations together. Panos, up to you.
Good morning or good afternoon to everyone attending our webinar. Thank you, Niels, for the introduction. I will start my part with some updates on the threat intelligence side and more or less the threat landscape in marine. So the maritime cyber threat landscape has evolved dramatically over the past 2 years. We are now witnessing a significant increase in cyber incidents linked to geopolitical tensions. And take the Baltic Sea, for example, where we are encountering persistent GNSS jamming that has disrupted navigations in NATO-controlled waters, affecting both commercial and naval vessels. In the Middle East, we've seen cyber-enabled attacks on shipping assets as part of hybrid warfare campaigns. Meanwhile, shadow fleet vessels are operating under obscure ownership, continue to spoof AIS data to mask their illegal movements. So all these examples underscore a key point. Cyber tools have become strategic weapons at sea, and we see now that they are powered by artificial intelligence. Focusing a bit on some recent marine cases, in 2024 alone, we recorded over 239 maritime-related cyber incidents, many targeting GPS and AIS spoofing. We've had incidents on satellite communication disruption. At the same time, groups like No Name 57 have been actively interfering with navigational systems in Nordic and Baltic waters. The result behind this is that there is a maritime environment that's increasingly unstable and unpredictable, not only from a physical, but also from a cyber standpoint. This actually reinforces why cyber resilience is not a luxury anymore, but it's becoming a necessity. The implication behind these cases or behind any cyber threat is very clear. Every organization involved in maritime operations from shipyards to vessel operators must understand that cyber risks are now strategic risks. Disruption is in connectivity, manipulation of navigational data, or interference with critical control systems can translate directly into operational downtime, financial loss, and even safety incidents. But what are the challenges that our clients are facing, and what are the challenges that we see rising more and more within the maritime environment that we are all working in? When we look on the challenges, when we look at the challenges on our clients face, three themes emerge consistently. First, a lack of specialized cybersecurity expertise. Second, we have quite a limited cyber awareness among crew members. And last but not least, we have a huge growing complexity of complying with international and regional regulations as they are evolving the same way that technology evolves. So it's quite hard to find a common-based approach that would be considered to be valuable for everyone. The human element remains the number one factor behind most of the cyber incidents, whether through phishing, social engineering, or misconfigured systems. So it is everywhere in the maritime world. Investing in training and culture and cyber culture is just as important as investing in technology. From a strategic standpoint, maritime cybersecurity also influences trust across the supply chain. Charterers, insurance, and regulators now expect a proof of cyber maturity, and it is something that we see on a daily basis as a classification society. Cybersecurity-driven insurance premiums and compliance verification are becoming the new normal. Organizations that fail to meet these expectations risk not only penalties, but also reputational harm and loss of business opportunities. So for all these challenges that our clients are facing, we fit in with our strength all over the globe. And to be a bit more detailed on that, we have more than 180 cybersecurity professionals worldwide dedicated to IT, OT, and IoT security. Our experts are being supported by laboratories in Europe and Asia. This allows us to offer both technical precision and a global reach, helping clients to navigate their complex environments with confidence. Now, as I mentioned before, one of the challenges is the continuous evolution of the regulatory environment. There are some regulatory updates that I would like to share with you. And to focus more on that, we see that the regulatory landscape is evolving faster than ever. At the international level, IMO MSC 428 mandates that a proper cyber risk management is integrated into the safety management systems. And on top of IMO regulation, Resolution 428, we see that this is being reinforced by the International Association of Classification Societies through the new unified requirements, URI 26 and URI 27, covering vessel and system-level cyber resilience. These unified requirements ensure that cybersecurity is considered not only during the design phase, but throughout the vessel's life cycle. Beyond that, we see an increasing national regulations as well, such as the US Coast Guard Cybersecurity Guidelines for Marine Transportation Systems and Singapore Cyber Resilience Act. the trend is clear. Compliance is moving from voluntary to mandatory, and the consequences neglecting these regulations is also affecting the way that the marine environment is progressing. Our role here is to help our clients not only achieve compliance, but also turn it into a driver for operational excellence. Besides the mandatory regulations, there have been some recommendations produced by the International Association of Glass Societies that are here to support and help our clients. One of these is the IX recommendation 190, which is actually focusing on the proper information that are going to be highlighted for having a proper asset inventory of computer-based systems. This is a supporting document for clients looking URE 26 compliance. There has been a release of a draft document for controls for existing ships, because we should see cybersecurity in a more holistic way in the maritime environment and not focus only on the new constructions, but also address cybersecurity controls for ships that are already sailing and that could be having legacy systems on board. And in addition to that, we have IAX recommendation 171, which actually provides the required knowledge to implement a proper risk management for the SMS of the vessels. That was all from the regulations in place. I'm quite sure there will be more updates coming in the near future on regulations, because we see now with the increment of usage of AI, it is a topic, it's a hot topic also for marine, and it has to be addressed with regulations at a certain point. But it's still TBD, and we will see this coming in the near future. It is our job then to make sure that you are aware, you are educated on that, and we are by your side. Now, on the cyber services side that we are providing our clients and we are able to support you with, let's take a closer look at them and what kind of challenges these address. Our portfolio spans proactive, preventive, and reactive services, as you see here, covering the entire cybersecurity lifecycle. We start with a risk assessment and threat modeling, which identify vulnerabilities and prioritize mitigations across IT and OT systems and their interconnection and the entire IT-OT infrastructure. We then move into pen testing, where we validate these risks in a controlled and ethical way. And finally, we provide compliance and readiness services, such as support for URE 26 documentation and compliance. And on top of that, we have our own in-house tool. It is a software and hardware combination. It's called Chart, and Chart performs health checks on the vessels to give us a better understanding on the topology and the vulnerabilities within. However, we should not neglect the human element, as we mentioned before, because the human element is, I would say, our top priority in terms of cybersecurity. And for addressing the human awareness and the human element, we have tailored cyber drills and crisis management services, meeting your expectations and also addressing cybersecurity in a more holistic way. Our cyber drills and exercises are especially impactful. They simulate real-world attacks, real case scenarios, trying to test not only systems but people and processes. Now, let's understand a bit for which clients these services are suitable for. First of all, there is no limit in what kind of clients we should be addressing the awareness part. So we consider, for instance, top priority for cruise ships, for high-risk assets like LNGCs and vessels that have a significant operational downtime risks. We are trying to focus on hyper-connected vessels here and vessels that are let's say having lots of connectivity with shoreside for any kind of monitoring activities. We understand now that there have been some pains that our clients are facing, and it comes from experience. It is something that Meftun will also elaborate in detail afterwards. There is a big differentiation between cyber drills for marine and cyber drills for any kind of industries. For the marine side, we try to combine not only the shore side, but also use vessels within our scenarios and crew members from the vessels. Therefore, we are trying to bring more realistic simulations on the table, tailored the scenarios to test the organizational response procedures and policies in place. We are also working in identifying gaps in terms of policies and cybersecurity management and mitigate these gaps. So we consider that the key benefit of having a drill, a cyber drill, or addressing your tabletop crisis management properly will enhance your cyber resilience and will also assist you in mitigating any kind of risks that your assets could be open to. Talking about risks, we should not neglect and we should not, let's say, take out of the table the proper risk assessment on the system side. We are able to support our clients with critical IT and OT systems. Our risk assessments are not only focusing, again, as I mentioned, on the shore side, but they are also focusing on assets on board the vessel. This could be done on a one-by-one case. Again, for the relief after implementing such service, we can ensure compliance with regulations for the systems, as systems have to be also compliant with requirements. We are also addressing any kind of potential risks. We are able to identify the risks, mitigate the risks, provide hardening on these systems, therefore increase the efficiency and reliability of these systems. So the benefits here are, as you see here, comprehensive risk assessments that are tailored to the maritime systems and the maritime industry, identifying risks, mitigating risks. The threat modeling service, again, we consider the threat modeling to be a complementing service for the risk assessment, because our threat modeling is addressing in a proactive way the risks that could be impacting your OT and IT infrastructure. Therefore, if we put in order these services, we can consider that the threat modeling is preceding the risk assessment. So a risk assessment would be the outcome, I would say, from a threat modeling service. It gives us a better visibility of the organization's overall risks, and it allows us to provide a proper reporting on findings. It is cost effective. It is producing a proactive risk identification on the overall architecture from a ship owner point of view and from a vessel point. And we consider that it is a more pragmatic way to proceed with the risk assessment. Moving on to the pen testing, I'm quite confident. I would like to be confident that most of you are aware what the pen testing service is. But if not, our pen testing service is a more technical service. It is focusing on identifying actual risks on systems. It gives us a good visibility on any kind of open doors or loopholes on the systems and on your cybersecurity controls that have been implemented. The focus here again would be our clients with critical IT and OT infrastructure. And not only, we see that pen testing is a quite valuable service to be performed on board vessels, because then it gives us a good understanding on how secure your vessels will be. And we consider and we try to emphasize on the pen testing, as we see that the vessels being built are more and more digitalized and more sophisticated. It is a service that will allow us to have a better understanding on the complexity and allow us to have a more detailed risks mitigation approach. It is a service that we are able to provide on two instances. We are able to provide the pen testing service on a physical way, with a physical attendance on board the vessel, on the premises of the owner, but also we are able to provide that remotely, after, of course, a coordination between IT departments and our experts who are going to perform this pen testing service. Now, what we see as I would say a mandatory and very important service here is compliance with URI 26. From an owner perspective, this is what regulation requires at the moment. It requires that all new built vessels that have been signed for construction after July 1st, 2024 need to be in compliance with URI 26. Therefore, the focus is starting to be on addressing cybersecurity by design. Therefore, we focus on supporting yards, on building the required designs for the vessel's infrastructure, building the required documentation for the classification of the vessels, and onwards move on to the support to the owner, as the owner is the one responsible for updating the documentation throughout the life cycle of the vessel. So it is not a one-off responsibility, I would say, for the owner or for the yards. It is a continuity throughout the vessel's life cycle to constantly update the documents and prove the compliance with this regulation. We see, however, and it is highlighted in the panes here, there is a lack of expertise both on the yard side and also at the owner side. There is a complexity of what kind of information need to be provided and how the systems have to be protected. And it also requires a proper risk management for the vessel architecture. Now, our relievers on that is that we are able to support you with experts that are addressing cybersecurity on your vessels and are able to simplify the process for you. Therefore, what is guaranteed here will be the regulatory compliance. You will have our guidance throughout the entire build of the vessel, up from the design phase until the handover phase, and onwards to any kind of additional support that our clients might need. Last but not least, on our services, as I mentioned before, we have developed an in-house tool. It is a software and hardware combined tool that is actually focusing on giving us a better visibility on the vessel's architecture, on the vessel proper networking visualization. Which clients should be focusing on that? Any client that would like to understand how their vessels are being segmented, their networks on the vessels are being segmented, if they are in compliance with specific regulations, And I would urge any kind of vessel owner that has more sophisticated or highly connected vessels to have a better understanding, because any kind of health check from chart could also allow P&I clubs to drive their premiums. And we see now that cybersecurity is a principle which is being addressed also from a P&I club point of view. We try to target, and we have a very big experience on implementing chart on cruise lines and cruise line operators, as cruise ships are more connected, they have more passengers on board, they are constantly requiring internet connectivity. So you understand that the impact and the challenge of doing something harmful on the network on board the cruise ship is not a science fiction scenario. Now, we are able with chart to ensure a regulatory compliance, identify the gaps, mitigate those gaps, and also provide a proper guidance for hardening your systems and the overall architecture. Now, this is a very high level, I would say, presentation on our services, on our tailored services for the marine environment, but I would pass on the floor to my colleague Meftun, who is our senior expert, and he can elaborate more on real cases and on lessons learned from implementing those services. Meftun, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Panos, for the services and the challenges on the maritime industry. So during this part, I will share several case studies that demonstrates how we as Bureau Veritas help our clients, including major energy companies, cruise liners, ship owners, and shipyards, to build robust cyber defenses through our services Panos mentioned, like penetration testing, crisis management, threat modeling, risk assessment, and regulatory compliance services. Our first case involves one of the world's largest energy companies and their marine services department. They approached us with a critical challenge. Their port emergency response team needed to understand how a cyber attack could cascade from a single vessel to impact entire port operations. And to respond to that challenge, we began with comprehensive penetration testing services on several vessels docked in a busy port. During those pen tests, penetration testing activities, our teams checked the configuration of the systems, identified the devices on the vessels, captured network traffic, did selective active scanning, and then reviewed the physical security of the vessels, including access to the service room. So based on the vessel's configurations and the coordination with the ship owners. Later, we used these real-world findings from pen testing activities, and then combining them with the international case studies, we designed a full-day live cyber simulation to explore the coordinated response activities across multiple teams, including, as Panos mentioned, including many stakeholders like port terminal operations, a ship captain, cybersecurity personnel, other vessel crew, and the company or the organization incident response team. Our consultants working as a coordinated control team, exercise control team, delivered the injections and the scenario items, the attack scenarios through telephone calls, emails, and injection cards. So we used our consultants both on-site and then remotely. On-site consultants handed out the injects with injection cards directly in the room, and remote consultants delivered the injects by phone call or emails. If we look at the pen testing part of this case study, so we highlighted some critical pain points during the pen testing services. First of all, vessel availability is a big issue. the availability is really unpredictable. Ships sometimes get delayed or rerouted, and then that also requires on our side extreme flexibility for onboard assessments or remote assessments. Secondly, the inventory is a problem. We found that many vessels lack comprehensive digital inventories, making it difficult to identify all connected devices on board. As a result, preventing a complete assessments, because what we require, and then because those devices are sensitive, so we require a passive scanning initially, not to disturb the operation of the ship or to harm the systems or equipments on the vessel. That's why having an inventory of the devices is a tremendous help to us to complete the pen testing activities. And lastly, the pen testing execution. So the remote pen testing when the vessel is at sea, of course, sometimes it is preferable, but in that case, the satellite communication quality makes the remote penetration testing less efficient because of the bandwidth limitations. Therefore, onboard assessments are essential for a complete security evaluation. Regarding these all three lessons or pain points, we learned that maritime cybersecurity assessment requires not just technical expertise, but also operational flexibility on our side. Moving on to our second case study for a global cruise liner where thousands of passenger safety and experience depend on seamless operations of the vessel. The cruise line had developed crisis response plan and procedures on paper, but they needed to assess these plans under realistic conditions. Therefore, we designed a progressive training approach spread through 2 days. On the first day, starting with scenarios affecting the cruise liner, and then on the second day, scenarios impacting a container vessel on the operation side. Overall goal was to test the communication flow between the ship crew and the company management or company personnel, incident response personnel, to ensure all parties were aware of the actions required in case of an emergency involving a cyber security incident impacting the ship's equipment, systems, and operations. Like the first case, this exercise also involved multi-level participation from vessel crew on board, maritime support centers, cyber response teams, to executive crisis teams throughout the company. Now, regarding these two cases, these cyber crisis exercise cases, so there are some couple of challenges we highlighted. So first of all, the many organizations make the mistake of running before they can walk, jumping into complex cyber crisis simulations without mastering the basic response procedures first. So in order to mature gradually, we recommend starting with small and then increase the complexity later on. Second, we discovered that effective cyber crisis response requires clear frameworks with defined escalation paths from the initial detection all the way to the strategic decision making. Usually, existing plans focus on technical parts of the incidents, omitting the focus on company-wide business impacts. Third one, maybe it is the most important one. Cyber crises are usually considered considered just IT problems. So, but they actually require coordinated response across the entire business, including legal, supplier management, customer relations, operations, etc. Exercising only the IT team leaves massive gaps in organizational preparedness for these kind of cyber crises. Another issue is the situational awareness, because every scenario is delivered to several people in the teams, like vessel crew, incident response teams, ship captain. They get limited information. So during those crisis situations, having a complete picture of the crisis is essential. but inadequate information can significantly compromise the decision making. So how to improve this situational awareness? We can improve with adequate planning and then regular exercising this aspect, and then we can improve this situational awareness significantly by planning and exercising regularly. Another topic is the plan itself. So many organizations try to put everything into one lengthy crisis plan documentation. A 100-page plan that no one will read actually can cause more problems than solutions during a actual crisis. So here, simplification is actually a key for the successful preparedness for the crisis response operations. Lastly, maybe this is a golden rule. Running drills without implementing the lessons learned is merely setting yourself up for a future failure. Why? Because during the recurring exercises with the same clients, for example, we encountered that the same issues we are facing the same issues again and again, which are already reported in the previous exercises. So it means that we are having these cybersecurity drills, learning the lessons, but we are not implementing them to improve our processes. Moving to our third case, we worked with a European ship owner who needed a risk assessment and comprehensive cybersecurity services. For this client, we started by helping them to populate their first cyber inventory, cyber repository, documenting all systems, equipment on board, and the interconnection between them. Then we conducted several vessel risk analysis, including threat identification, threat assessment, critical assessment of the systems, and the overall risk evaluation. This process involved different stakeholders with stepwise approach that included several workshops to identify, evaluate, and assess the threats, risk, and mitigations. Finally, we delivered cyber security management rules and procedures tailored to their specific operational needs and the risks in the form of cyber security policy documentation and cyber handbook documentation. Policies and these policies and procedures included topics such as information protection, identification, authentication, access control, remote access, malware protection, security monitoring and incident response, physical security, backup, restore, maintenance, and more. Basically, what we experienced here is that IT part of the organization has extensive cybersecurity policies and procedures, but unfortunately, the vessels were not in scope of those policies and procedures. Sometimes they were in scope, but they were not implemented practically on the vessels. So what we did was to prepare the documentation set to extend the policies and procedures to cover the vessels, of course, considering the specifics of the systems and equipment on board of the vessels. And our fourth case study involved a Netherlands-based transport company operating heavy load carriers. As part of this comprehensive technical assessment, we conducted onboard reviews to identify all connected devices, uncovered multiple vulnerabilities in onboard systems and their interconnections, and provided targeted recommendations for both physical and digital security. Importantly, we outlined realistic threat scenarios specific to heavy load carrier operations. To identify these risks, we took an approach which included interviews with the employees, crew members, analysis and evaluation, all the documentation they have, and we complemented these with the observations performed on the vessel, on the visit of the vessel. And then we identify the threats specific to their systems and equipment by using some methodology. So methodology, and then we use unified kill chain methodology to map out what tactics and techniques threat actors are using to attack the vessel. For risk assessment and the threat modeling, we identified some lessons here. First of all, is the lack of documentation. So system and equipment documentation is often partial or not updated, or they are outdated actually. This makes us the comprehensive risk assessment and procedure development really a challenging issue because of the missing information on the systems. Second one is, Panos already mentioned, the crew awareness. We also verified during our cases or projects, the crew awareness is a big problem. They were not aware of their roles and responsibilities to perform the required activities to describe in policies and procedures. Another big issue is a disconnection between the departments, IT departments, maritime operations, and security departments. As I highlighted, so they have extensive policies, procedures, or implementation on the IT side, but they are not aligned with the vessel operations. So there is an explicit need to extend or align these company-wide or enterprise-wide policy and procedures to vessels as well. Of course, considering the maritime specific things. Perhaps most concerning is the industry-wide shortage of specialized maritime cybersecurity professionals, because when we talk with the customers, so we want a point of contact that will help us to develop the policies and procedures or risk assessments, but usually we cannot find specialized cybersecurity personnel on vessel or maritime operations departments that can help us to develop the policies and procedures or execute the risk assessments. Our last case study takes us to Central Asia, where a shipyard needed support for achieving compliance with URI 26. During this project, we guided them through the entire URI 26 compliance process, advised them proactive engagement with suppliers for URI 27 certification as well, supported preparation of required documentation. This documentation includes asset inventory, zone conduit diagrams, and cybersecurity design description documents. This document is the collection of the safeguards implemented on the vessel based on the supplier provided documentation. Again, this activity also a long-term process, including many workshops, interviews, and then documentation reviews with relevant stakeholders from shipyards, integrators, and sometimes suppliers. This case revealed some specific regulatory pain points. Some of them Panos already mentioned, but we again verified during this project. Implementing the robust network segmentation is a challenging when network design wasn't originally designed or planned according to the regulations. This created additional effort and time challenges for shipyards to redesign or modify the vessel network architecture to comply with the regulations. Second one is the supply relationship, because we saw that there's limited visibility on the shipyard into cybersecurity capabilities of the suppliers and the type approved products from the suppliers, especially when suppliers are also struggling with compliance with URI 27 compliance and then getting their products certified against this regulation. And lastly, again, the specialized maritime cybersecurity professionals at the shipyard makes these prepared documentation extremely difficult and causing significant delays in the project timeline. As we have seen in all case studies, so there are some common challenges we identified. The first one is the importance of the realistic training for a crisis or incident response operations. The second one is the comprehensive documentation needs. And the third one is the cross-departmental collaboration. And maybe the most important one is the building maritime cybersecurity expertise to comply with these regulations, and then to mitigate the cybersecurity risk in vessels and the other maritime operations. And with this, I will give floor to Panos again to wrap up and highlight the key takeaways from this.
Thank you, Mersun, for this detailed insight. I think the lessons learned here are quite important for everyone, for at least for our attendees, because they can identify themselves also the pain points on their side. Just to complement on the URE 26, URE 26 is not only a responsibility of the yard. The responsibility then from the yard point of view is being transferred to the owner. Therefore, it requires a lot more effort from the owner to keep up to date what they have retrieved from the yard and include also the systems that are within their scope. So there is a continuous work to be done for all the vessels that are in compliance with this regulation. As we approach at the end of today's webinar, let's reflect a bit on the key takeaways. First, the maritime industry is entering a period of intensified digitalization and scrutiny. Cybersecurity has moved from an afterthought to a business critical requirement. And secondly, proactive preparation through assessments, drills, and compliance translate directly into the operational resilience and trust. The future of the maritime resilience lies in collaboration, the collaboration between ship owners, yards, system suppliers, and classification societies, where all these entities need to work together to build a secure maritime ecosystem. We are proud to be here in the forefront and help you stay compliant, resilient, and be ready for the future. We invite you to continue this discussion with us on any of our upcoming events, including the upcoming webinar. It will be in 2026, but 2026 is not that far away. Our webinar will be tailored on a US time zone to also assist our clients in the US. And also, it will have a more dedicated focus where it will be the cruise line cybersecurity, where we have a more complexity of systems in combination with I would say, bigger crew vessels and vessels that have many more people on board that require connectivity. We have the date set up for 14th of January, and we will be also participating in big marine events. I will be next week, for instance, in ADIPEC in Abu Dhabi. I would be more than happy to meet any of you attending our webinar today in person and discuss. Also, you will find us, and we will be participating in China in December in MarineTech. You have the specifics here. But let's stay in touch. You see our email address here, our functional email address. We would be more than happy to respond to any of your requests offline from this webinar. And I think since we have a few minutes, we can address some of the questions, Niels.
Yeah, thanks, Panos. Thanks, Meftun, for your valuable insights and sharing some real-life experience here. So, yes, we have already received some answers, but I would like to encourage you, of course, if you have further questions, please come up. So we have some questions on warship related. Maybe, Panos, you can get them. Does cyber regulations are also imposed on warships?
Yes, this is a very good question, because if you take the regulations, if you read the regulations, you will see that the naval ships are inside. However, these regulations are focusing only on commercial and cruise vessels. There is a limited scope of vessels you will see within URI 26. And however, since the regulations are focusing on the NIST framework, which is a pillar of cybersecurity, we consider that it is a good starting point. It can be considered as a good baseline in an optional way, due to the fact that warships most of the times have to follow NATO regulations. They have to follow local regulations that are dedicated and tailored for warships. Because what you have to keep in mind as well is the fact that we are talking about classified vessels. Therefore, we are talking about classified systems to be integrated on board. And for doing and addressing such a level of classification, you need more stringent requirements, more technical requirements, and additional ways of protecting your assets. One of these would be, for instance, a proper security module integration on board the vessels, and any other kind of systems to ensure any cryptography on the communication side. Consider this to be a good starting point and a good baseline to apply, and then it has to be, I would say, enhanced to a level of war protection.
Yeah, thanks, Panos. There is one more related to warships. I think we can take it up directly. Does warships have overriding responsibility of jamming signal to enhance cyber?
So no. The quick answer is no. I had the privilege to discuss with Navy regarding a recent increment of GNSS spoofing and AIS spoofing in the Red Sea due to geotensions. The warships are not allowed to do such an override. They are allowed to do anything they have to protect themselves and not to override any kind of jamming. Usually for the jamming, there are solutions, there are ways to protect your vessels, and warships are not in this authority. Even warships are suggesting something which is against SOLAS regulation to actually power off your AIS. However, we see now the industry is producing solutions that could, let's say, protect your AIS from spoofing and your GPS receivers from spoofing.
Yeah, thanks, Panos. One other question on the risk assessment. Which risk assessment standards is used for OT systems? Not sure if you will take it, Panos or Meftun.
Yeah, I can respond on that. So our risk assessments for OT systems would be entirely based on IC 62443. However, we have cases where we have a merge of additional frameworks developed by local entities that would be applicable on top of IC 62443. But most of the cases, I would say the IC standard is what we follow for our risk assessments.
Great, thanks. Then we have one question. Yes.
Yeah, sorry to jump in. There is an additional question about the IC 63154. This is an IC standard for cybersecurity on radio navigation systems. If you check within URI 26 and E27, you will see that for radio and navigation, we are following IC 61162 -460 for navigation and radio telecommunication systems.
Yeah, thanks, Panos. So we have this one as well. Maybe one question for Meftun on the pen testing. How long is your pen test, black box or white box test? What is the test base on which standards?
For pen testing, it's again, it's the availability issue, right? So if the vessel is is docked on port, then it is an arrangement between the ship owner and our team. So depending on the available time, we can plan the testing accordingly. But if it is on sail, so because of the satellite communication quality, it takes longer maybe to assess everything. Sometimes it's not possible to test everything, but it can be, I mean, it can be several days, 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on the availability of the ship. And for methodology, so we are using our own methodology. But it is that methodology is based on the industry standards, like best practices like OWASP, Web Application Security, Information System Security Assessment Framework, and open source security testing methodology manual. So we have our own methodology that includes, of course, black box, gray box, and crystal box. But for OT systems, we recommend gray box and crystal box, and then we don't recommend active scanning or active pen testing on the OT systems because they are delicate systems. So we do passive. We start with passive with the identified or already provided IP addresses of the systems, and then we start with passive scanning, and then based on the identification of the systems, with agreement with the ship owner or the crew or the captain, we do selective scanning on systems and equipment.
Yeah, thanks, Meftun, for this very good insight. Maybe that one as well for Panos. While the shipyard systems integrator are to plan for network design and segmentation, however, if the ship owner already has a compliant network design for E2627, can this be used by the system integrator using the design? Panos, you are on mute.
Yes, sorry for that. It's a good question. However, we have to decouple, let's say, a bit E27. E27 focuses on the system side. So talking on E26, we try to encourage our clients, the owners, to have a good relationship with the yards and to participate throughout the entire design process. Indeed, the owner will have the responsibility to provide the overall network architecture, including the OT systems, including the IT systems. Sorry, as OT, most of the cases falls under the responsibility of the yard. However, the OT will definitely require the network configuration and the networking devices to have an overall, let's say, solid architecture, networking architecture. So, of course, if yard is okay with that, that would be the ideal scenario, because it will oversimplify and it will also give us a very good understanding of the full architecture at the design level. Consider the fact that the architecture design and everything coming from the yard needs to be updated from the owner afterwards. That includes their IT and the systems in scope. So having that on a very preliminary phase is giving us a good understanding and will allow us to assist and provide our feedback on the design.
Yeah, thanks, Panos. Looking at the timeline, I think we need to get finished here.
I think I can answer also on the quantum attacks. Yes,
perfect.
So
if you can do it quickly.
Yeah, I can. The quantum attacks, it is a scenario in the near future. At a certain point, it will happen. But you have to understand the budget behind having quantum computing and being an expert on quantum cryptography and quantum attacks is not an ordinary way of attacking. So it will come at a certain point, and I would say at the point where quantum becomes the new norm. We are far from that yet, but for now we see AI supporting everything. So
Maybe on that part as well, maybe I can jump in also. So I think for quantum attacks, so yeah, quantum resilience cryptography protocols are recommended by several bodies. So using those will be helping us to defense against quantum attacks.
Yeah, thanks, Mefdun. Thanks, Panagiotis. I think that was really good, valuable insight. Thanks for attending the webinar to all who are still here. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any further questions. You have the email address here. We will share the recording afterwards, and you will find the slides in our hands-out section. So I wish you all a good day and hope to get in touch with you soon.